Our scripture reading this morning comes from the Gospel according to St. Matthew. And it comes from that 11th chapter of the Gospel according to St. Matthew. The 11th chapter and the 28th verse. And one of the reasons why our God blesses us with so many ways and means to go about showing gratitude. And that which you've done to the least has been done unto me. God has a purpose behind every request that he makes of us. He has a divine purpose behind it. It's not just for the sake of working us because we're his servants. But God has put on the table some promises. Unto humanity. And our God is a promise keeper. And one of the promises that our God has extended unto humanity. And another reason why it is so important to show gratitude. More so by doing unto the least. Matthew 11 and 20. Come unto me. All. I'm sure the devil was smiling. I'm sure that when God's divine inspiration came over St. Matthew and had him to up and speak these words in God's behalf, the devil got happy. He's finally bit off more than he can chew. Come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. All. Whosoever will, let him come, in no wise will he or she be turned away. Should the devil just laugh himself if he could have today. But he's eternal. How in the world is God going to honor that? All. God has an army that's big enough and mighty enough. An army of servants, worshipers, of believers, of saints, of Christians, that he's supposed to be able to use to assist him in working such a work. That's what you've done to the least. Look at all the tools that our God has blessed us with. To be able to provide rest for others. To take some pressure, to take some weight, to take some burdens off of others. That's one of the reasons why he calls us servants of God. That is why when we look in the mirror at ourselves, we call ourselves blessed. Because our God never sends a soldier to warfare without equipping him with all the necessary armor, tools that he or she may need to accomplish their mission. This is great confidence that God is showing in us by making such a petition, such a pledge, or extending such an invitation. Because God believes in us, His servants, His assistants, His laborers. Come unto me, all you that labor and heavy laden, and I'll give you rest. We want to talk about God's universal rest insurance policy. God's universal rest insurance policy. God is one who honors and keeps His word. Heaven and earth may pass away, but His word shall stand. Not one drop nor one tear shall ever pass away from His word. And He has extended unto all humanity a universal rest insurance policy. We find in our lesson this morning where our God is extending a universal invitation unto all humanity. We find in our scripture reading this morning where our God is extending a universal invitation unto all humanity to come unto me. All ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. And I wonder this morning, Black's Chapel, are there any out here on this parking lot who need some rest? Are there any out here on this parking lot who can use some rest? Are there any out here on this parking lot who want some rest? Rest from the disturbance of your normal condition. Rest from the violent assaults upon your fortified place. Rest from those unwanted, unexpected, and undesired happenings taking place in your life. Are there any out here in this parking lot who need and want some rest? Then all we have to do is accept God's invitation. And He tells us in His word, in Isaiah, the 55th chapter and the 11th verse, where He validates the power and the authority of His invitation. I say again, we find in the book of Isaiah, the 55th chapter and the 11th verse, where God is validating the power and the authority of his invitation when he stated that my word will not go out and return back to me void, but that it is going to accomplish that which pleases me. And you know what, Black Chapel? One of the things that pleases our God most is that nothing and nobody mess with his people. Nothing and nobody mess with his people. One of the things that pleases our God most is that us, his people, be of good health, sound mind, and prosperous. Good health, sound mind, and prosperous. That is one of the reasons why he tells us in Matthew that it is best to have a millstone hung around your neck and be cast into the depths of the sea than to offend one of his little ones. You see, Black Chapel, you cannot talk to a child of God just any old kind of way and get away with it. You cannot treat a child of God just any old kind of a way and get away with it. Because a child of God is one who has accepted God's personal invitation. One who has heard the call of God saying, come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I'll give you rest. Rest from the disturbance of your normal condition. Rest from the violent assaults upon your fortified place. Rest from your unwanted, unexpected, undesired happiness taking place in your life. Rest, rest, rest. God has extended unto us a universal rest insurance policy. And when you take out that policy, he also tells us in his word, in the number of songs, about some of the benefits and some of the blessings that comes along with that invitation, with accepting that invitation, that comes along with filing for that universal rest insurance policy. When he's saying that if you take out this policy, you shall be like a tree that is planted by a river of water, that bringeth forth his fruit in season, whose leaves shall never wither, and everything that you do shall prosper. Because the Lord know the way of the righteous, and the way of the ungodly shall perish. You see, Black Chapel, when you accept God's invitation, when you fill out for that universal rest insurance policy, Jesus become your insurance agent. Jesus become your insurance agent. And when Jesus become your insurance agent, all of your premiums are paid in full. All of your premiums are paid in full. And once all your premiums are paid in full, you then become a recipient of special dividends. You become a recipient of special dividends. Dividends that you can draw down from at any time. At any time. And once you receive those special dividends that you can draw down from any time, now in times of your trouble, when it seems like every time you set out to do good, evil is always present. In times of trouble, when it seems like the devil has you in his crosshairs, in times of trouble, when it seems like the only luck you have is bad luck, in times of trouble, when your whole person would have been invaded by paralysis, seized and being held hostage by the physical, mental, and emotional calamities of life, in times of trouble, he said, if you call me, I will answer. You have tried everything that you can do. You've done all you can do. You tried to break up. You tried to break loose. You tried to break free. But all of your efforts ended in failure. I said, you've already done all that you do to liberate yourself. You tried to break loose. You tried to break out. You tried to break free. But all of your efforts ended in failure. But let me tell you something, Black Chapel. If you have accepted God's invitation, if you have filled out one of those universal rest insurance policies, don't you ever accept failure as an answer. Don't you ever accept failure as an end result. Because you came from a bloodline of champions. You have championship genes inside of you. You have in your DNA courage, strength, determination, and perseverance. You have can-do power. Can-do power. Can-do power. Joe Louis in his first fight did not score a knockout, but instead he got knocked out. Jackie Robinson, when he attempted to steal his first base in the major league, he did not steal second base. He got thrown out headed to second base. Hank Aaron, Black Chapel, what those three men had in common was not that all three of them were failures. No, but what those three men had in common, those three men refused to accept failure as an answer. They refused to accept failure as an end result. They knew that failure had not within its capacity the authority to determine their end results. But they knew that failure had within its content knowledge, wisdom, and experience that they could extract and apply to their next attempt. What those three men had in common was they knew that nothing beat a failure but another attempt. Nothing beat a failure but another attempt. No matter how many times you've been knocked out, no matter how many times you've been struck out, no matter how many times you got thrown out, don't you ever accept failure as an answer. You can always do a comeback. You can always do a comeback. You can climb that mountain. You can weather that storm. You can pick up those pieces. You can rebound. You can bounce back, Black Chapel. And I wonder this morning, Black Chapel, do we have any mountain climbers out there? Do we have any mountain climbers out there? Do we have any rebounders out there? Know that you can come back. Know that you're never to accept failure as an answer. Never accept failure as an end result. Because failure has not within its capacity the ability nor the authority to determine your end results. But your past failures do have in their content knowledge, wisdom, and experience that you can extract and apply to your next attempt. Nothing beat a failure but another attempt. Don't you allow your today's situation. Don't you accept failure today. Don't you allow what you experience in the today chapter of your life to influence you. Don't you allow yourself to be influenced by what you are experiencing in the today chapter of your life. Because today's chapter of your life is just another chapter. It's just another day. It's just another month. Just another year. That's why James said, count it all as joy. Count it all as joy. Count it all as joy. When you fall into divers temptation, as a count means to look at each individual piece that makes up the whole. Look at each individual piece that makes up the whole. Look at all the past. Look at all the failures. Look at all the trials, all the tribulation, all the setbacks, letdowns, and disappointments that you experienced in your past. But when you count them all, you realize that some way, somehow, the Lord made a way. Some way, somehow, the Lord brought you through it. The Lord brought you through it. And if he did it once, by golly, he can and he will do it again. Whatever it is you're up against, whatever it is you're going through, no matter how many times you've been knocked out, no matter how many times you struck out, no matter how many times you've been thrown out, don't you accept failure as an answer. Don't you accept failure as an answer, because there's no failure in God. You have taken out a universal rest insurance policy with God that reads, come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I'll give you rest. Rest, rest, rest. Rest from the disturbance of your normal condition. Rest from the violent assault upon your fortified place. Rest from all the unwanted, unexpected, and undesired happenings taking place in your life. Rest. It is time for the people of God to reach your rest. Rest, rest, knowing that you have a God that watches over you, who never slumber nor sleep. It says God is watching over you anyway. You go home and get you some rest. You go home and get you some sleep. Because once you take that problem to the Lord and leave it there, it's no longer your problem, it's God's problem. And God is able to deal with your problem all by himself. God doesn't need your help. All God needs you to do is continue to worship and praise his holy name. Continue to thank him in all things, giving thanks. Thank him for the tools that he has presented to you to use to manage yourself through every storm, to use to climb every mountain, to use to pick up every piece, to use to bounce back, to use to rebound with. Because God is El Shaddai. He's more than enough. He's more than enough. And he has already shared us with our portion. You have your portion. You have your measure. You came from somewhere other than where you are. We're not the first one to pass this way. Nothing new under the heaven. No matter what you're experiencing in your way, along your way, it's been experienced before. God has always went ahead of his people. And he's always paved the way. Because he is the way, the truth, and the life. And we are not to allow those things that we are experiencing in the today's chapter of our life to define us, to make decisions for us, to rob us of our peace, our joy, and our happiness. We are not to allow them to stop us from worshiping and from praising our God. We're servants on a mission. We've been led by a general, a commander, who has never lost a battle. And all we have to do, and continues to do, is steadfast, unmovable, always abounding in the works of the Lord, knowing that your labor in the Lord is not in vain. I thank God for that high power. I thank God for that place of rest that I can flee to when I can't find rest nowhere else. That place that I can flee to when I can't find peace nowhere else. That place that I can flee to when I can't find fulfillment nowhere else. I thank God for this word. A word that's been validated. The power and the authority of it has been validated. My word will not go out and return back unto me void. But it is going to do that which I please. And we always talk about putting it in the hands of the Lord. That's the only way you can do that. It is not just by a verbal thing that we do. The only way you can put it or place it in the hands of the Lord is that you have to do you God's way. Follow his instruction. That's the only way we can cast all our cares upon him. That's the only way that we can come unto him. Those who labor on a heavy load and receive our rest. My word, heaven and earth may pass away, but my word shall stand. Not one jot nor one tear shall ever pass away from my word. The only place that we can find our God is in his word. The only way that we can tap into the power of God is through his word. We put billions and billions and billions of dollars into research in the last year, several months, to find a cure for one little virus. What if we gave that type of attention? What if we invested that much of ourselves? Looking for peace, looking for rest in all the wrong places. Willing and ready to invest in practically anything but in God. Let go of the church yourself. Let go of the church yourself. By way of a letter, Christian experience, or Kelly for baptism. But don't be jealous. What if we all had universally came online in search for God? What if all of us had pooled our resources, our brightest minds, our brightest scientists, and been willing to break all of our bank accounts? Here you got people all over the world starving, and money just being poured into a vaccine. What will a man profit if he gain the whole world and lose his soul? Or what will a man give in exchange for his soul? Trying to buy more time. Willing to go the distance to buy a little